Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another Mindcraft discussion on this glorious day in northern Vermont at the Notch. So Giovanni and I, my name is Kimberly Quinn, and that's Giovanni behind me. We are elated today to be back in the woods after about almost 3 months now with a foot issue, which is still healing, but I'm in sneakers. We can go a short distance. I have clearance for a short distance, and so super grateful. And I keep reminding myself how grateful I am. I think you all know I practice gratitude every single day, that this foot situation, mobility, I guess, is not temporary for everybody. Not that I say I haven't had a couple of moments, because I'd be making that up, and I'm not wired for lies. I have had a couple of moments, but mostly I'm just really, really grateful, and to live in such a gorgeous spot where my short little jaunt can be in the woods instead of, I don't know, just in a circle and pavement someplace. No offense to, Urbania, because I actually am a big fan of New York City and lots of cities. I really am. I just also really, really need nature, and I need the woods. So anyway, I'm glad to be here, and today's talk is about taking your emotional pulse. It's so important. It's so important. A lot of times we're flying around like gerbils on crack. I mean, it's just true. It's just true. We're just zipping around, filling our lives up with busyness, and then when we do that, since we're not in tune much of the time, somebody gives us a little snark, we take it personally, we go down a rabbit hole, ba 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 ba. So it's just so important to stop that wheel, step out of the current. And so taking our emotional pulse means this. It's super easy. Best if you can work up to doing 3 times a day, which is my plan. And but to start out with once is better than none. So once a day, maybe start out with that in the middle of the day, and ask yourself, just if you have to duck into a bathroom. No one's going to follow you there, hopefully anyway. And just take a moment of your life minutes and say, how am I feeling at this minute? How am I feeling? And if it's happy and good and positive, fill in the blank with whatever positive adjective, great. Still check in with it, because that means your thoughts are positive, which is great. And if that's not the case, if you're feeling regret or guilt or shame or sadness or whatever, okay, then ask yourself, okay, those are my emotions. And emotions are super important to pay attention to, because, as you're aware in Minecraft, thoughts come first, feelings second, and actions or behaviors last. So we cannot feel insecure or anxious or guilty or any of it when it's not neurologically possible unless we have the thought first. And this sometimes confuses my Minecraft students. We were just talking about it just a few weeks ago, actually. And then when I remind them, I'm actually super proud of them when they kind of, push against that a little bit, very politely, with respect, because they're awesome, they're so sweet. Because they get confused. They think, oh, well, I didn't really think about it, meaning it was unconscious. It's still a thought. Conscious or not, it's still a thought. We cannot have feelings without the thought first. So that's how it is. So when we check in with our feelings, this gives us a really good idea about the thoughts that are circling our minds, circling through our minds like on a hamster wheel, right? And so only then can we bring it into consciousness of what the thoughts are, about 95% of which are going to be the same as they were yesterday. Maybe not exactly with context, but basically yes. And which means that we're walking around feeling the same way as we did yesterday. And there's no change when we do that. So it's super important to realize this. Check in, bring stuff to consciousness, become aware of what your thoughts are, so you can cherry pick, sort of the ones you want to shift out of, and then cherry pick the ones you want to lean into and shift over to. It's very, very important, because then you can turn your day around. Doesn't matter if it's 10:17 in the morning, you blew a tire, stubbed a toe, whatever, and then you start thinking about your past when you stubbed your toe in 2018, and that made you think of whatever. And then once we sort of check in with ourselves, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, or confused or insecure, this is when it's super important for me. It works really well for me to do the 4-4-8 breathing technique, which means you're breathing in a big inhale. A lot of times people say in through your nose, out through your mouth. You know what? I have a little deviated septum, and in through the mouth, out through the mouth works for me too. So really, as long as you're breathing deeply, that's all that matters. And so it's in for 4 breaths, just 4 seconds, I meant. Okay, then hold for 4 seconds and then out for 8 seconds. It's a long exhale, which is research-based that does wonders for one's mental health. So, and it's also important, I like to share with people to do that for 4 1000, so it's actually 4 seconds. Whereas if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, that's not really 4 seconds. It's probably like 2.5. So if we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1000, bring it in, right? And then 1 1000, 2 1000, 3 1000, 4 1000 for hold, and then out for 8 1000. That's going to help. Do that 3 times. Duck into your office, duck outside. Nobody has to know what you're doing. You're checking in with yourself. And again, duck into the bathroom if all else fails. So right there has you in a much, much better place because you're becoming aware of what's going on within. Then you flip the script and switch into a much more positive thought, something that has you feeling good. And I did a video on the feeling good part I think a few days ago, and that's really important. So this video, it's not really a part 2, but this feeds into that because when we can consciously sort of calm the mind and bring ourselves into a place, a memory, a thought, or whatever, right, where we are feeling good, everything falls into place. And the brain loves patterns. So the more we get used to checking in emotionally, shifting into a more positive thought, then the brain gets sort of used to that and says, oh, hey, here it comes, some more good feels. And more of that is kind of invited in. We attract more of it. And when we feel good, everything else falls into place. I also want to say that this is important, too, that we're not talking again about screaming from a mountaintop with exhilaration. I mean, that is actually ideally what we want, right? But if you're struggling right now, you're having a hard time, and you're maybe battling some depressive thinking, we're not even saying diagnose, doesn't really matter. This works as well because it's relative. It means when we are checking with ourselves emotionally and shifting into a place that's more positive, it's emphasis on more positive. So if you're really kind of feeling like you're at the bottom, when you shift out of a place that's just a millimeter above that, then you do, go me, because I climbed up a little bit. And the pattern thing works exactly the same. The more we keep repeating, sort of shifting into, leaning into more positive thinking, the brain gets it pretty quickly and starts to look for it. In fact, as mentioned, the average amount of time for a habit to shift and stick is about 21 days. We say average because there's so much dependent there. Like, starting a, walking habit of 15 minutes a day or on the bike or eating a piece of fruit in the morning is not the same as, quitting smoking or overturning negative thinking that's been going on for 55 years or something. Can we turn it around? Absolutely, positively we can. We just need to be a little more patient that it may take a little longer. So the first step is the first step. That's it. Check in with yourself emotionally at least once a day. For me, it's 3, morning, middle, and sometime in the evening is what I sort of aim to do. And obviously, sometimes you forget and stuff, and then you just get back on the horse. That's the beauty of making positive change. And the only rule book you got is the one you make for yourself. And I'm not even a big fan of rule books with that. Just kind of go with it. Look for the good feels. Stay with the good feels. So that winds us up into, with the good feels thing, finding a place where we feel good, finding thoughts that make us feel good, where we reside there, is to do something at least once a day to actually, so we have the thoughts, we actually just, whether it's having lunch, it's kind of maybe because it's lunchtime at this minute, having a burger, with a friend, or splurging on yourself in some way, taking a hot bath, just anything, something that has you feeling good, calling a friend that you haven't talked to in ages, doing a little bit of artwork, reading a book, something that has you feeling good, because again, when we feel good, the rest falls into place. So it's about learning to be nicer to ourselves. And I'm not saying that with any kind of, slant, because I think I wouldn't do that anyway. But I think a lot of people have a hard time being nice to themselves. I do. I think a lot of people, it's easier for them to caretake others than it is to caretake themselves. And to amp that up even more, it's easier to take care of the body than it is the mind. So if you put all that together, it can be very hard for people to embrace proactive mind health for all kinds of reasons. They're just maybe just not used to, not in the habit of treating themselves well, and it just seems like it's just easier to take care of other people. So these small steps are basically like a deposit in the self-esteem bank. That's what I tell my Minecrafters. And I don't mean it to sound silly, and I would never be condescending to anybody. I mean it for real. Because if your habits are to not be good to yourself, and then you actually take, maybe 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, or you do something that takes a lot out of you, maybe making a plan with somebody, then you just like a savings account, you put a self-esteem bank, you kind of made a deposit in there that goes to the brain that says, I'm valuing myself in this minute. I'm valuing myself because I treated myself. In whatever small way it is, I treated myself, which means I showed myself, I valued myself in that minute, which can be really tough for some people. I know firsthand how hard that can be. Decades ago, and I would just, I just, thank God I had so many people mirroring it for me, because I was not there for a while, and I really understand it. I really do. And so this is a good way to really start on your own journey to self-love and healing, is to do these small things that make you feel good. Just do what you feel is in your grip, even if you have to, kind of reach a little bit, something that has you comfortable and feeling like you're, just doing something good that has you in the right mindset of showing yourself value. And that's a huge, big step in the right direction. And just like playing the guitar or whatever you choose to start up that you've never done before, it'll get easier and easier and easier, and you'll attract more of it and more of it and more of it. So learn how to land in a place where you feel good. All the rest will come into place. So a good start is checking your emotional pulse at least once a day. This is Kimberly Quinn and Giovanni signing off from the beautiful Notch in northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.